is Nathan Cartwright. I was diagnosed with severe pan-ulcerative colitis when I was 30 years old. Now, if you're like me, you watched every video there is to watch. You've heard people tell you, eat this, it'll cure your disease. Drink this, it'll cure your disease. And you found out, no, they don't. And if you're watching this, you've also figured out that your doctor does not have a good solution for you. They don't have a good answer. So when I started taking, I took 11 different drugs in 6 years. When I started taking Remicade, which is a biologic, I knew that if I wanted a good answer, I had to go figure it out myself because I knew my doctors didn't have a good answer. So I already knew that, how do you say it? The pharmaceutical companies put Band-Aids, right? They're not finding a cure, they're not finding a solution, they're not going to the root cause. And so I started thinking, what if my disease isn't the problem, right? What if my disease is a symptom of the real problem? And the real problem is our genetics, okay? From an evolutionary standpoint, throughout our whole history, we've had mutations in our genetic code. Some mutations are good, we pass those on. Some mutations are bad, and we die. If you're watching this, then you have got a bad genetic code, or the person you're watching this for has bad genetic code. Now, people like to call our diseases autoimmune diseases. That has always irritated me. There's nothing wrong with my immune system. There's something wrong with my genetics. Right now, they think of ulcerative colitis as the problem. Remember, our diseases are not the problem. They are a symptom of the problem, and that's genetics. So in order to understand, you gotta follow me on two things that I came up with: genetic time and HDGMAD theory, and I'll tell you about that in just a second. So genetic time, okay? So when I was 27, think about this. When you were 7, you weren't reading the same genetic code as when you were 17 or 20 or 25 or 30, right? When you were 17, 20 years old, you were ready to go and do anything. Go have an adventure, right? When you were 30, you were more comfortable sitting around on the couch a little bit, right? Yeah, sure, you still liked adventure, but your bed was really comfortable. So was mine. So I started thinking about this when I was taking Remicade, a biologic. And if any of you have taken those, you know that's not the answer. Now, pharmaceuticals don't want to come up with a good solution. The other thing is that I started thinking about, I don't want to find a solution for my disease. I want to find a solution for all these autoimmune diseases, which are going to be called HDGMAD diseases here pretty soon. Okay? So remember, when you're 27, when I was 27, I felt really good. When I was 30, I was in a hospital dying. So how do I get back to reading 27-year-old genetic code? I'll be happy with 25, 26, 27, somewhere in there, right? And the answer is genetic time. Genetic time is the intersection of hormones and DNA that occurs throughout an organism's lifespan. Genetic time is composed of a time and a place. The time is represented by hormone levels, and the place is represented by what DNA is being utilized. Genetic time is not a linear event that only flows in one direction. Genetic time can be reversed. So we can we have these things called methylation factors that kind of lock our genetic code as we go along in life. The ticket is to unlock them. And how do we do that? By hormones, okay? So I have a little thing right here, just a little chart, shows 0. So hormone is the percentage of hormones that you'll create in your entire lifespan, right? So we can only have 100% of that. Here's DNA is pretty much in years. Why do most women get breast cancer at 40? Because that's when their hormone levels hit a certain spot, and then they start reading that genetic code. Or maybe there's an allele that's not right, and they're reading that, or they're just not reading anything. Maybe our bodies just stop reading that, and we stop producing that protein, and then our cells go haywire. I've answered a lot of questions, and I have a million more. So down here, it's years of life. So when we're 0 to 10, it's pretty flat. Our moms jumpstart us when we're babies. Then, boom, we hit adolescence. There's 5 stages in a man's life: childhood development, adolescence, adulthood, middle age, and old age. For women, it's the same thing, where you have pregnancy and menopause, okay? Why is it that any women out there that are watching this, if you've had kids, so if you had your disease and then you got pregnant, did your disease go away? Yes, it did. You're all nodding your heads like, wow, really? Because you're reading pregnancy genes, right? Because 50% of that genetic code that's in you isn't yours. And your body says, hey, guess what? This isn't right. Maybe we should kill this foreign invader. But you have pregnancy genes that are being read that says, maybe we'll let this thing live, right? But then once you had your baby, your disease presented itself again, probably a couple months after that, when your hormone levels dipped down, right? So your progesterone levels went up, your estrogen levels, your E1 level, there's 4 estrogen levels. I'm getting too far ahead. Women, I will do a separate video for you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Email me, my email's down below, and I'll answer your questions the best I can. Remember, I'm not a doctor. I don't want to be a doctor, okay? I'm a scientist. Now here, it goes up, and then when we're about 20, 30, when we're about 30 years old, we kind of start going down. And it's like a step-like decrease, right? You're not 80 years old when you turn 30. It takes time to get there. Our levels go down, okay? So this is my theory right here that I came up with, and it goes along with genetic time. And if you understand both of them, you'll get a good idea of this. It's called hormone-dependent genetic mutated allele disease theory. So our diseases are not autoimmune diseases. They're HDGMAD diseases. Hormone-dependent genetic mutated allele diseases, okay? Now the definition of an HDGMAD disease is genetic diseases characterized by a period of thriving health followed by the onset of disease and the accompanying decline of health and well-being, right? You felt really good when you were 27. You felt really good before your disease. And then you didn't feel so great. In fact, there were red lights going off everywhere. So, statements. The 3 things that we can find here. The human life cycle is dependent upon hormones. Our hormones are not the same at 5 as they are at 15 or as they are at 30. Over the course of the human life cycle, hormone levels fluctuate, right? They go up and then they start going down. The fluctuation, number 3, the fluctuation of hormone levels can lead to the expression of diseases ranging from mild forms of manifestation to death, right? You might have a little bit of celiac where if you eat a loaf of bread, it upsets your stomach. Or you might have a little bit of gluten and you're on the toilet for 10 hours. So, solution. Through the manipulation and control of hormone levels, the genome can be induced to replicate a previous or potential state of health in which non-detrimentally mutated genes and alleles are transcribed and translated that is unique to each individual. What works for me might not work for you. It's going to be pretty close, I bet, but it might not be perfect for you. The question you have to ask, and which a lot of doctors don't ask, is how do you feel? They're going to say, oh, well, Nathan, your testosterone levels are in the normal range. Testosterone levels for a man for normal range are from about 10 years old to 80 years old. That's normal. And besides, the word normal has nothing to do with us. Our diseases are not normal. 1 in 7 people are affected by an HDGMAD disease. So, using this and thinking, you have to do a paradigm shift. Your disease is not the problem. It is a symptom of your problem, right? Pharmaceutical companies, I gotta say, they've kept us alive. Great, but they're not interested in finding a solution, right? They're interested in patching holes because that makes money. Biologics make billions and billions of dollars every quarter. So, how do we change our hormone levels? First, every single hormone is derived from cholesterol. You might think, oh, cholesterol is stuff that kills you? Yeah. So these are the main ones for a man. For a woman, you guys are infinitely harder, but still, we can still figure it out. I've got a lot of ideas for you. Now, I could only test my theory on me. In 2014, after 7 years of disease, I told my doctor, I'm not going to take any more of your drugs, right? They all had terrible side effects, right? How many of you have taken so much prednisone you can't remember the last time you slept, right? Doctors will hand out prednisone like it's candy. But if you take that much corticosteroids, you have to balance the equation, right? They don't do anything on the other side of the equation. Give us a little testosterone to boost that up, right? How many of you have had to eat every 30 to 40 minutes, or you get so nauseous you start dry heaving or throwing up, right? I have, from the prednisone. I slept an hour a day, maybe. Your joints hurt so bad you can barely walk. I didn't go in my basement for 2 years because I couldn't make it down the stairs. I couldn't pick my little baby girl up out of the crib. That pissed me off really bad. I knew our doctors didn't have an answer. I found it, and I tested it out on myself. So in 2014, I told my gastroenterologist, I'm not taking anything of yours anymore. I've got this. He said, you're gonna die in 3 months. That's how bad my disease was. You're gonna die in 3 months, he told me. In 2017, I called him up. I said, hey, I need a colonoscopy. He said, I thought you were dead. Gave me a colonoscopy in the recovery room. He came in, stood in there until I woke up, said, dude, what are you doing? If I didn't know how bad your disease was, I would think that you never had ulcerative colitis at all. That's what he told me. Here's the result. Here's the result. I hope you can see that. It says 0 cells of inflammation. 0. I'm not interested. I want to solve the root cause of the problem. I don't want to put Band-Aids on it. Root cause solution. And that is HDGMAD and genetic time. These are the drugs that I took. Pregnenolone, progesterone, DHEA, testosterone, HCG, which is human gonadotropin, anastrozole, D3, and vitamin. Now, there are predictable side effects from all of these. Like I said, you have to balance the equation. If you add something to one side, you have to add it to the other, or you have to compensate it on the other side. So, this is what I did. Oh, the other thing is, so in 2019, first off, my gastroenterologist is as well lettered as you can get. He's really bright, but he sits in his box. Okay? So he said, you went into spontaneous remission. I said, no, I didn't. I found a great solution to my problem, not a cure. The only cure for our diseases is genetic engineering. That's it, which I hope someday we get to. I would love it if my grandchildren never had to worry about my disease. Anybody out there that's freaking out right now, turn this off. It's not for you, okay? So, this is the best solution. So, these are the ranges that I tried. I went all over the map on these. You'll be able to tell, because think about it. If you start doing this, now I hijacked my entire endocrine system. I do not advise that. So I did it because I was the first one. I couldn't find any literature on anybody ever doing this. So my cousin's husband, Ryan, has diverticulitis. He was like, dude, you know, I've just been getting crushed with this. He's been in the hospital a bunch of times. He said, what are you doing? So we started talking, got out his phone, he ordered pregnenolone. He He said, how much should I start taking? I said, take 25 milligrams every morning, see how you feel. 6 months later, I'm talking to him. He said, dude, my disease is gone. Just on 25 milligrams of pregnenolone, nothing else. None of this other stuff, okay? Start with pregnenolone. Take 25 milligrams. See how you feel. But it's not going to be spontaneous overnight. It's going to take a minimum of 2 weeks. So like the doctors say, let's wait and see. That's a terrible thing to tell somebody in our position. Wait and see. Wait and see is going to kill us. We have biologic systems, right? This isn't a computer program where you change something, hit enter, and it's instantaneous. It takes time. It takes time for hormones to affect our genetic code, for us to read different genetic code, for those proteins to be transcribed and translated and sent out into the cell to do their thing, okay? It takes time, a minimum of 2 weeks, okay? Maybe you're different. Maybe you see it before that. Maybe it takes a little bit longer, okay? Now for me, my sweet spot was 100 milligrams of pregnenolone, okay? So for me, it was 100 milligrams. 100 milligrams every day, AM. Now, your doctors, and you're gonna say, Nathan, progesterone is a woman's hormone. You probably shouldn't be taking it. Well, I looked at women that are pregnant and their joints are all loosey and everything. When my wife got pregnant with our first daughter, she was, her joints were all loose. And I was like, man, I'd like for my joints to feel like that. So I started taking progesterone because my joints hurt so bad from all the prednisone. Prednisone is awful. It's awful. It keeps us alive, but barely. So I started taking progesterone at so I started off taking 100 milligrams, and then I slowly worked progesterone out of my schedule. So once my joints felt better, they feel way better now. If you're like me and your disease is awful and you've been on a ton of prednisone, you might want to hijack your entire endocrine system. But beware. Once again, not a doctor, scientist. I've tried all of this stuff. I'm not going to tell somebody to do something or to try something that I haven't done myself. I tried the whole gamut, okay? So if you got a question, shoot me an email and I'll answer it the best I can. It's my opinion. It's just what I did. It's what I would recommend for somebody, okay? There used to be a time when we go to a doctor for an opinion. Now we have to go to them for permission. That's also another video that we'll totally get into some other day, okay? So, moving on, DHEA. Okay, 300 to 100 milligrams. Take all this in the morning. So our bodies, as we sleep, we recharge all of these drugs. And then when we're topped off, we wake up, okay? And then we use these drugs throughout the day and it goes down. We get sleepy, we go to sleep, and boom, our bodies start doing this. So take all of these in the morning. Progesterone, they'll say take at night. I tried that, and after 7 days, I felt like I wanted to jump out of my own skin. Okay, but taking it in the morning didn't feel like that at all. Okay, testosterone. Okay, 200 to 100 milligrams every 4 days. Now, some of you are saying, hey, I take testosterone and my doctor gives it to me once every 2 weeks. Well, why would you do that? The half-life of testosterone is 7 to 8 days. So they're giving you peaks and valleys. You feel great, right? The day after, for the next 2-3 days, feel great. Next 4 days. But then you start getting past a week and you're like, you can feel it. you're out. So no peaks and valleys. Slow rolling hills is what you want. Every 4 days. And don't shoot it in your butt. Give it to yourself in your arm or your leg. Don't do it in your leg either. My buddy was doing it in his leg. Dude, do you know how many blood vessels and nerves we have in our legs? It's ridiculous, right? Give it to your arm. Do yourself a favor. That's what I've been doing. It works great. HCG. Okay, HCG, 300 international units to 0 international units. That's as high as I went every 4 days. I just mix it in with testosterone. It says do it subcutaneously. I didn't do that. Maybe that's how, but it worked for me, okay? Now, HCG is gonna keep your ovaries and your testicles working, okay? If you want kids, you should probably take it. It helps because all of our systems, like the hypothalamus, pituitary, gonads, hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal, HPT with the thyroid, those are axis, they're negative feedback loops, okay? So when you start taking, remember predictable events, you start taking testosterone, your body says, oh, I have enough testosterone, and it shuts down your testicles, okay? HCG keeps them working, okay? If you don't care if your testicles shrink, don't take it. If you do, take it, but be careful, right? You don't want cancer. You gotta have labs done, okay? Now this is just what I did. Do your labs, okay? Anastrozole. Okay, 0.025 milligrams twice a week. Okay, now this, remember, if you start taking testosterone metabolizes through the aromatase enzyme into estrogen, specifically E2, which is estradiol, the most powerful of the estrogens. Remember I said that there's 4? This goes into E2. Well, if you're a dude, you don't want boobs, okay? So you have to, testosterone on this side of the equation, you need anastrozole on this side of the equation. Anastrozole is an aromatase inhibitor. So it binds to the aromatase enzyme so that it can't take testosterone and change it into estrogen, okay? Don't grow boobs, dudes, okay? Don't do it. Take some of this, which unfortunately you have to get from a doctor. Okay, vitamin D3. I've read studies where they had, for 20 years, they put people on 10,000 IUs, international units of D3, okay? With no bad side effects. So I take 5,000 units, okay? Per day. Take them all in the morning, okay? It's when your body needs it. You're gonna need it for the rest of the day, okay? D3, and take a multivitamin, okay? Even if you eat great, you should probably take a multivitamin. Because a lot of things, if our bodies don't need it, we flush it out. Just like the D3, vitamin C is another one, right? We just flush it out, okay? There are some that you can take that's too much, but most multivitamins come in far below. You're good. Take a multivitamin, okay? So all of these, okay? Anastrozole, very important. Testosterone. Now after I'd been on this for a while, I felt awesome. Okay, if you take 300 milligrams of DHEA, your partner is going to look really good all the time. All right? Because my kids are listening. So I reduced it to 100 milligrams, and that puts you in a better position. Okay? So 300 milligrams, you're going to be very amorous. Okay? Pregnenolone. Now, I could never get a good lab result. The highest result I ever had was 274 milligrams per deciliter. Okay? But I think that was on like 300 milligrams of pregnenolone a day, And then I could tell it was too much because I started getting psoriasis on my feet, which I had when I was 23 to 25. So I backed that down to 100 milligrams and I felt great, okay? So you'll be able to see and you'll be able to notice. It won't be, oh, I took it to this morning, I'll see it tomorrow. No, it's not like that. Remember, 2 weeks, okay? See how you feel. Try it, see how you feel, okay? Progesterone. I was always right about 4.1 to 4.8 nanograms per deciliter. DHEA, I got up to 900. I didn't write down the units. I averaged at 300, I was right around 16 to 1900, okay? Now, is that high? Yes, it is, but you'll also feel it. So when I dropped it down to 200, I was like, oh, okay, I feel different. When I dropped it down to 100, I felt different, okay? I felt pretty good. Testosterone, 200 to 100 milligrams. The highest I got on testosterone was way too high. I think one time I had it up to like 3,200 nanograms per deciliter, and I just wanted to see it. I had to try it. You're not going to turn into a big green monster if you take it. If, you know what, if you're an unpleasant person to start with, you're going to be a really unpleasant person. If you're an all right person to start with, you're probably just going to be all right, okay? It doesn't do anything. It accentuates who you are, okay? So bringing it down, my comfort level was 1,500 to 1,700 nanograms per deciliter. I'd say right around 1,500. Now, the normal range is 1,100. The top of it is 1,100 nanograms per deciliter. Where they got these, I have no idea. I looked for years trying to find how you got these ranges. I don't know. But 1,100, I didn't feel good. 1,500, I felt good. I'll stay with 1,500. They can stay with their range, okay? HCG, I was taking 300 units, and then I moved down to 200 to 100 to 0. I cut HCG and progesterone out of the mix. After I was done having kids, didn't really need the HCG. I don't know if you have a chance for cancer or not. I wasn't going to take it, so I cut it out, okay? But if you're flaring hard right now, hijack your entire endocrine system, right? If you're dying in the hospital like I was, and the other thing is, in 2019, I told, because my endocrinologist kept telling me, you are in spontaneous remission. So I said, I'm gonna stop doing what I'm doing, and I'm gonna flare, and I'm gonna flare hard. And then I'll start doing HDGMAD with this regimen again, and I'm gonna pull out of it without any of your drugs. I did it. It went exactly how I said it was gonna go. Blew his mind. So now he's a believer. Like I said, he's a really smart dude. So, right, do this. And, so my estrogen levels, my E2 levels, I kept right around 28 to 35 PGs per milliliter. Honestly, I forget what the PGs are. But 28 to 35, right in there. I let my estrogen go sky high. At one time, I thought maybe estrogen is the answer to this. You know, it wasn't. So I brought it back down. I tanked my estrogen one time too. You feel all rickety and like, ow, your joints start hurting like you're taking prednisone. Don't do it. You need estrogen to live. It lubricates your joints, right? It's not a bad hormone. Just have the right amounts. Okay, that's it. That's all I got. Remember, hormone-dependent genetic mutated allele diseases. That's what we have. They're not autoimmune. This is a solution, not a cure. But it's the best solution that there is right now because it goes after the root cause of the problem, right? Your disease is a symptom of your problem. This is your problem, your genetics. Like I said, my name is Nathan Cartwright. If you have any questions, shoot me an email and I'll do the best I can. All right, bye-bye.